Hello and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals. And we invite experts and intelligent people with lots of great ideas on to help us. And that's why I'm really psyched. And I know you're going to love speaking with Dr. Amanda Barrientez. That's so funny. Barrientez. I just did it off camera and it was good. So I know how to say it, Barrientez, but I screwed it up just then as I thought I would. So there's mindset. There's a perfect example of mindset and why it's so important. Dr. Amanda is not the kind of doctor that you might go to with a sore toe. Dr. Amanda is the money doctor. And if your money's hurting, if you feel like you're hurting, you need to talk to Dr. Amanda. Dr. Amanda, thank you so much for being with us today.
Psyched to be here. You know, I might be able to help you with your toe, but not that well. I'll pour some essential oils on your toe and
there you go.
Hey, you're good.
Oh, better. Look, does it make it better? Okay. Yeah. Go home now. Take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning.
Yeah.
So I see you've got your logo behind you. It cover your children's ears. Why don't you tell us what that stands for?
Yeah. So everything NFA. So my company name is NFA Money, and NFA stands for no fucking around. And you know, the essence of NFA is like radical responsibility. So it could be NFA Money, NFA Joy, NFA Happiness, NFA doing what you love in the world. Like it's this mentality of really taking your life and your business by the horns in a fun, playful way and just going with it, you know? And so, yeah, it's a really playful name. And yeah, there's a fun story behind it.
So I'm curious because I feel like a lot of people and a lot of the audience, I mean, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I wish I had the money to leave my job. I wish I had the money to invest in all these new real estate ideas I hear and all these different endeavors and things. People are always giving me great ideas, but I just don't have the money to make the money, right? That adage plays in your head, you know, you've got to have money to make money. How do you get people to sort of start thinking about money in a little bit more healthy, different way?
Yeah. First thing is they got to start believing differently. And part of the reason I think that I get to attract such cool people is because they see my story and my evolution. I went from food stamps to building a 6-figure business in its first year. So when people tell me stuff like that, I'm like, stop running that story because it's all in your mind. It starts with you. Yeah. So if you think money is going to be hard to make and that you've got to have money to make big money, you're going to forever create that story in your reality because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So whatever you don't like on the outside, money, relationships, feeling bad in your life, you got to change what's within. And that starts with your mindset. And so you know, we get crazy, so many messages from the time we're born through our entire lives. And then when we believe it, we just keep looking to validate that it's true. And so we just keep creating the same thing over and over again. So you got to first start by changing what you believe about money.
And I feel like one of the things that we do to ourselves is look at other people who have money and like make up a story about them, right? Oh, they had it easy. You know, that probably their parents were rich, or they're probably not nice people or whatever, right? Like all the reasons that can't be you, right? And the more you resent, I mean, what happens to people when they spend a lot of time resenting other people's success?
Yeah. Oh, you're so spot on. There's 3 main money blocks. Money is bad, money is scarce, and money causes stress. And when you have those beliefs,
no money causes stress.
Running. Right? Yeah. Right. Exactly. Well, and the interesting thing is we get these downloads when we're kids, and, you know, this is not to demonize our parents. This is to be aware and conscious so that you can decide from this day forward, do I choose to continue to buy into this belief? You know, our parents tell us, work hard. You got to work hard. You got to get good grades. You got to go to school. You got to get a good job. Then someday you can retire and be happy when you're 70 years old. You know, like who wants that life? No one. And so, you know, we get told that story. We watch our parents work really hard, and whether they make a lot of money or don't, we often watch them work really hard. Right. And so, or watched them work really hard. And so we have these beliefs in our mind running that go like, okay, well, if this is true about money and oh, greedy people are rich, right? Like we see it in the movies all over and over again. It's always the bad guy is the greedy guy, right? It's always the wealthy, greedy guy, or sometimes women, but more likely men, right? And so we're never going to create consciously what we unconsciously fear or hate or are afraid of, right? Or resent. And so
Exactly.
if we think money's bad, or we think money is going to cause us a whole bunch of stress, we might have the conscious belief, oh, I want to make a whole bunch of money, but we have all this unconscious belief, which is 95% of us,
Right.
holding us back. And that's why it's so important to start getting aware first of what your money beliefs are and then reframing them.
But that can be really hard, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when you have something in your head and you think it's the truth, right? And you might not even question it, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
like there's a joke out there, or it's probably not even like a joke, but it's the thing where the doctor is treating the person, and the child was in the accident with the father, and then the doctor says, oh my God, this is my son. And people think, well, how can that be? Well,
Yeah.
obviously the doctor's a woman, but you just think, no, I mean, you've got the picture of the guy with the white coat on and you don't even realize. I mean, when I first heard that joke, I had a woman doctor and I was still like, that's puzzling.
Yeah. Isn't that
You
wild?
don't question. So
That's such
how
a
do you get
great
people to
example.
drag that stuff out of their brain and pull it
Yeah.
out so they can look at it?
I'll tell you, most people don't want to hear this. It's choice. It's a decision, right? Like, imagine that you're 100 pounds overweight and you all of a sudden go like, I got to get healthy. I don't feel good. You don't just on your own one day, like go from being 100 pounds overweight without taking any action, making any decisions, or getting any help, lose the 100 pounds and feel amazing.
Right.
So, to most people, that's pretty obvious. Like, I've got to go to the gym and I've got to do it incrementally. And I'm not going to go from this to running a marathon next week. But somehow we think, oh, I don't need help with money. Right. Like, I should just know all the answers on my own, and I should be able to see everything on my own. And I think a lot of it, it's shame and embarrassment, right? It's like, we should know how to do it, we believe. And that's
Right.
not true.
Right.
The only reason that you should or shouldn't know how to do it is what you were taught when you were growing up, and those stories you bought into. Just like, I love the story you use. It's such a paradigm way of thinking, like, oh, men are doctors, right? Wealthy people are blank. And whatever story you're buying into, you're not going to be able to see anything else. I like to, people who are listening or watching this, like, look around your room right now and just take a couple seconds and look around your room for everything that's red. Like, look for something red, pay attention to it, focus on it so that you could recall it and tell me what it is.
Right.
Okay, now come back to where you are. And now tell me everything in the room that's green
Right.
without looking. You
No
didn't look
idea.
for the green things. You looked for the red things. That's exactly what we do with our belief system. We look for what we believe to be true. So it's not really, I'll believe it when I see it. It's, I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah.
And so if you have crappy money beliefs, you're going to keep getting a crappy money reality.
Exactly. Exactly. So is it only people who are at what you would call poor, who are who have this problem, who have this situation where they need some money doctoring?
That's a great question. And no, that this is the wild thing, is that across the board, I mean, I've worked with prison incarcerated men all the way to like mega millionaires, no billionaires yet, but someday I'm sure I will. It's like across the board, everybody has money blocks. Because here's the thing, sometimes when you have a lot of money, you can have what's called wealth shame, where you're embarrassed about the amount of money you want. So you kind of hide it. You could feel really freaked out about it. So it's that money is scarce feeling. So I know wealthy people who like hoard their money. They don't go on vacations. They don't feel good about it. Right. And so it doesn't really matter whether you have a lot or a little. If you don't have wealth consciousness, you're going to not feel good about the amount of money you're making.
Yeah.
Some poor, there's, like in a, when we say like a poor person, let's say impoverished or doesn't have a lot of financial wealth, they might be mega wealthy in another area and feel amazing in their life. And they don't care that they don't have that money. Right. So that's going to be a different mindset. Right. And so it's all based on how you feel from your inside out. And that's what you end up creating. Who cares if we have buckets of money and we are falling apart in our health and our relationships are falling apart and we just don't feel happy, and we feel like, a lot of people I work with, it's like that sense of like, I know there's more than this and I'm not sure what I'm missing, but I'm missing something.
Yeah. It's great that you use that analogy of weight loss, because I think there are a lot of parallels there. Like, I think when you are having problems with eating, you want to kind of make friends with food, right? And just realize that it's not the enemy. And it's the same with money, right? You can make friends with your money. It's a tool. Yeah. Right? It's just like, it's here to help you.
Yeah, totally. It's neutral, really. Right.
Exactly.
It's like,
help you or hurt you. It's up to you.
Right. It's how you think about it and the way that you interact with it. So I love that you said that, because I always teach people that you're in a relationship with money. like it's a relationship. So I have people write a letter to money. So it's like, write the letter to money the way you are now, and then write the letter to money like a love letter to money. Like, how do you really want to feel about money? That's what you're going to get. So if you're, when I did this on myself, it was like amazing, because I'd be like, I love you so much. I want you. I can't get enough of you. Where are you when I need you? It's like chasing and longing, but of course pushing away, because when you have that kind of energy, you push things away from you.
Right.
We want to be attracting money to us.
Exactly. I'm so glad to see you.
Yes. I love you. I think you're amazing.
Let's
I
go
want
to
you
the
to
movies.
Yeah, totally. Take me everywhere.
Exactly. That's such a cool idea. What other kinds of strategies do you use to help people to sort of, find that loving relationship, develop that loving relationship with money?
Yeah. I mean, that's everything I do, right? Like the reason I got named the money healer is because I did this work actually with a group of real estate investors, and they were a family working together, like siblings. And I have everyone do a money story. And so they were writing their money story. And at the end, they were like, it was changing their whole family from the inside out. And it was really cool to watch. And, they're like, you're like the money healer. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. That's like such a blessing and gift to be able to provide people with that shift, because it runs our whole life, So money story is huge. And I'm always looking for easy things that people can do, because just like you said at the beginning, it's hard to recognize what's blocking you. Like, if you knew what was blocking you, you would eliminate it and be done with it.
I'd be healed by now, right?
Totally. Like, we'd all be mega wealthy. And so I like to help people with simple strategies. So I created an NFA Money Formula, and everyone can access it for free. It's 3 steps. And of course, this is something that you can practice your whole entire life. And I like to think of it as the tool of a million uses, because it can work with money. It can work with relationships. It can work with anything where you're feeling stuck and frustrated and kind of having complaints about your life or your money. So it's 3 steps. And it's first, you've got to recognize. And so I have you ask yourself simple questions to help you recognize, because questioning is how you start to recognize. Right. The first thing you're going to have to do is make a decision that you're ready to face your shit. You got to go, okay, I'm ready to actually change. And I'm tired of blaming the outside world and anything that's on the outside of me. And I'm ready to take ownership. And so I'm going to choose to recognize. So you start with recognition, and then you reframe, and then you repeat to reprogram. And I just have a very simple process that I walk people through. So if they go to nfamoneyformula.com, it's 3 steps. They've got a video, like really straightforward. And then of course, dig into that. If you do that every day, you just play with it a whole bunch. This is exactly how I went from food stamps to 6 figures. I just started changing my thinking. And what I realized is I was completely stuck in the victim mindset. I was blaming everyone else for my reality. It was like, it like so badly that I left my 15-year marriage having an affair. Next relationship wasn't working. I'm on the floor crying. And I had this moment, I'm like on food stamps. I have 3 kids. I'm in grad school, and I'm going, oh my God, I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't have enough money for anything. And I was crying, and I sat up, and I was like scanning my history and of relationships and all the things. And I was like, it's me. I'm the problem. Like, I'm the problem. Up until that point, I blamed my ex-husband for everything. Like, I blamed him for me having an affair, which of course it's a co-created experience. Right. And I needed to take ownership in order to change my reality. And so it was such a gift in that moment to go like, I got to change myself. Yeah. And then when once I made that declaration and I started listening to podcasts, which is why I love podcasting so much, I just started, saturating my brain with everything mindset and started shifting the way I was thinking, and took relationship courses, and I started implementing really practical strategies to start saving money, investing money. And I just watched my money accelerate. And then of course I took the leap into business building, and I decided like, I'm going to go for it and see what I can create. And it was amazing, in that first year, 6 figures. And every year I've created a business where I work less and I make more and I have more fun. And it's like, I pinch myself often. I'm like, this is real. This is amazing.
But it's so true, because as long as it's somebody else, right? Oh, I got to change my husband. He's got to go to therapy. He's got to get his act together. He's such an idiot. And I got to change my boss, and I got to change this one, right? You have no power over any of those people. You can't make them change. But then all of a sudden, if it's you and you are in control of you, It's like, wait a minute. It's like getting the keys, right? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. The keys to my prison have just been put in my hand, and I can just
Totally.
let myself out, right? I
It's
mean,
so liberating. It's
yeah,
exactly what you're saying. It's like you're free from your prison of yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people don't see it that way, right? It's so
Not
much easier
always.
if it's someone else's fault.
Yeah. The weird thing is, like, in the moment it's easier because it's easy to blame someone else for why you feel bad, but then you can never get out of that situation. It's always going to keep repeating itself because, by the law of attraction, you attract what you are. So however you're thinking, feeling, being, you're going to keep attracting more of that to you. So let's say even you get rid of the husband you're blaming, you're going to attract the next person that's going to be very similar for you to keep
Exactly.
waking
What a
up and
coincidence.
evolving.
Right. But
Yeah.
why I think people have such a problem is because then they have to say, well, that I made that all that crap that I've just been living with. That was all me. That's
Yeah.
tough for people.
Yeah.
You
Then they
say
beat
it was my
themselves up.
parents' fault. It was all my parents' fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Right. And until you stop blaming other people, you give up all your power to change. So that's where you got to first make that decision. I always say to people, decide, commit, and take NFA action, right? Like decide, commit, take no fucking around action. If you do that, life will get real easy after a period of time, because you're retraining your brain. And that's another cool thing, in neuroscience, our brain, with plasticity, we can change. I'm not going to say it happens overnight for sure. No, and I think a lot of people want that magic quick pill. They're like, oh, give me the magic pill where I can change overnight. And that's why most people don't change.
Yeah.
And so you've got to make the choice and be repetitive, because what the repetition does is it reprograms your mind. It actually literally creates new neural pathways in your brain. And so then you start to have your path of least resistance automatic response be completely different than it used to be. And that's what I started to do. And, looking back, and this is why I create systems around it now, because I'm like, this is exactly what I did. I didn't know it at the time, but I just knew I got to change. I'm going to start learning new things. I'm going to start doing different things. I'm going to start acting differently. And it started to change me. And I started to see things on the outside change. And I was like, where has this information been all my life?
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there, sitting on some podcast waiting for you to listen, right?
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because okay, just totally lost that. Boom.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. Anyway, but when you're, oh my God, I hate that.
I know, it is interesting when that happens. We'll say something that'll trigger it again.
Yeah, exactly. So you were saying.
Yes.
So when you were, how long did this process take to where you were on the floor crying, and then all of a sudden you got to the point where you said, wow, I just created a 6-figure business? What's the trajectory there?
So right. We're recording this right now. It's 2022. It was in 2017. I had that on the floor crying moment. I decided at that time I was in the process of writing my dissertation for my PhD. And I was like, I'm so far in the research process. As I started listening to all these podcasts, I realized it was like coach type people. And I'm like, maybe that's what I needed to do. And then at the same time this was going on, my department had like national news fallout, like professors leaving, people stressed. And I was like, I don't want to be a professor anymore. This does not look like the job that I want. And yet I had put all this time and energy, and I loved the research I was doing life history interviews with incarcerated men who had spent 18 years on average 18 years incarcerated and in gangs. And I was doing this really incredible work with them. And so I felt like I want to finish my dissertation, and I don't want to be a professor anymore. And so it like planted that seed, I was like, well, I'll finish my dissertation and I'll kind of start diving into looking at coaching. And I just simultaneously did it. So while I graduated in 2018, I then said, okay, I'm going to take the leap. And in 2019, I went full-time in my business. And that was my first year. And I went 6 figures. So it's
That's a huge mindset.
pretty fast.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
That's very fast.
Yeah.
Very fast.
And I like to say not overnight. And I'm a NFA style person. So it was like, I was listening to, I don't even know how many hours a week of podcasts. I was listening on double speed every second I could, like washing the dishes, walking to school, walking between my classes, taking my kids to school. Like I was on a mission because I was tired of feeling like crap. And I started to feel better. And I started to feel like I had some power and control. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know you could feel like this. And so it was like devouring it, so that's the attitude it takes to really shift rapidly.
Right. Absolutely. Because you've got a lot of reprogramming work to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, you use the analogy of the person who's overweight. I mean, you didn't get to be 100 pounds overweight overnight. So you shouldn't expect that you're going to lose 100 pounds overnight.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. And it's that losing it and keeping it off too, right? It's like, you never stop. You don't all of a sudden go, I lost the 100 pounds and now I'm going to go back to the ways that I was. You keep doing the things. And it's just like mindset work. I read every single day. I listen to podcasts. I watch YouTube every single day. I am constantly immersed, and because I still have money blocks, right? Like these don't just go away.
Right.
You keep discovering layers of yourself. And so, for people listening, it's like, be encouraged that you are abundantly full of all kinds of beliefs that you get to learn about and transform so you can get different results.
Absolutely. That was actually a real eye opener for me. What you were just saying about it's a constant process that some of the people who I was learning from, some of my coaches, and I'm talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, I still, every morning I do this journaling and I do this and I do that. And I just think, aren't you already finished? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When are you going to be done?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're never done. Like you can't just exercise a whole lot one day and say, that's it. I'm also caught up on exercise for the rest of my life. Right.
Totally. Isn't it weird that we think that about personal growth or money making or any of the things? I think about like, what if you only brush your teeth once a week? Like, it doesn't work. Or shower.
I'm gonna brush my teeth like 1,400 times today, and that's gonna take me up to the next couple of years. I'm gonna be good.
That would be, yeah. I mean, it's just, it's consistency, right? And I think the cool thing about it is that when you start doing this kind of work, it's like, I want to use the word addictive, but really what it is like, it's so beneficial that why would you ever want to stop?
Absolutely.
Like I'm a different person. Like my kids say it. My ex-husband says, he's like, wow, like I've changed so much and in ways that feel so good to me and everyone around me. Yeah. And so it's like, why would I ever not want to do it?
Right. Exactly. Absolutely true. Awesome. So I feel like our time is kind of flying away here. It's like, well, I think because you and I are a lot on the same wavelength, and I feel like we could probably talk for hours.
Yes, definitely.
But what kinds of things did I fail to touch on that you really want to make sure that people know and that you want to share with everyone?
I always like to leave people with a reminder of what I said earlier. There's one quote I always like to share, and it's really run my whole business. It's by Carl Jung. He says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. It's such a powerful quote, right? When I read it, I was like, God, that's so true. And so just remember, your brain is set up to look for what you believe and to validate it. So if you're hanging out with complainers and you or yourself are complaining and you're telling yourself stories that are negative about money, you're going to keep getting crappy results. You're going to keep getting more debt, less income, or it just isn't going to grow, or you're not going to feel good about it. So what we all want is to create a reality where we are able to attract abundance our way because we're abundant from within. And that does not just happen magically, right? You've got to change your mindset and you've got to train your brain because we are wired for the negativity bias. We remember negative things 8 times more easily than positive things. And that's for survival. Yep. So we've got to actually train our brain in a different direction. And so it takes effort. And everyone here, it is so worth it. Like it is so worth it. Like if you knew that at the end of that journey, which never ends, but at points along the journey, there's bags of money and just abundant health and wealth and happiness and great relationships. Like I just got married in Hawaii last year and the love of my life, like my relationships flourish, like things in my life are awesome. And I work with amazing people and I do awesome things in the world. And that all came from me starting to change myself within, and anyone can do it. I'm not special or unique. You can do it too. So just remember that. Be inspired.
That's fantastic. I love it. How can people find your website so they can do the NFA 3 questions?
Yeah. So if for that one, go to nfamoneyformula.com. So nfamoneyformula.com. Really simple download, and just, I think it's around like a 15-minute video. So it'll help them walk through it. And
Cool.
then if they practice that, it gives them a printable cheat sheet to use, and just really simple, straightforward. I release videos on YouTube every week, NFA Money, all things NFA Money. So they can find me in all those places. Of course, my website's nfamoney.com. So
Awesome.
yeah, they can
And
find
all
me
those
in all
links are
those
going to be
places.
in the show notes. So you don't have to try to remember
Awesome.
them as you're driving down the street. No problem. We got you covered.
Yes. I know. I can't,
Awesome.
with all the podcasts I've listened to, it's like I always, like, I'll be driving and I'm like, I got to go back and get that link. So good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being with us today. I love talking to you. I think we're like, soul sisters.
Yes. I love it. I know we could talk all day long.
We could. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know, listeners, I know that you've benefited so much from what Dr. Amanda has been sharing. And I feel like maybe you don't need to have a money healer, but maybe you do. And if you don't, and even if you do, I bet you know some other people who could definitely benefit from everything that she shared. So please be kind and share this episode with them. And who knows, you could be transforming someone's life and your own. And be here next week. Awesome. So I'm going to, yes.